716-5555, Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies, Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
All right, ladies, I have very important information for you. Ladies and gents, I secured the bag.
Oh, yeah.
Secured
Round
the
of
bag.
applause, RJ. Let's go.
No, I did not secure cash. Not that at all. I secured the Old Bay seasoned goldfish, which we will open during the first commercial break. We will let you know on the other side how they are, but I was very excited to get these. I ran into a friend in the grocery store, and she's like, we've been talking about those. You have to let me know how they are. So we will let all of Jacksonville know how they are, and we're looking forward to that. All right, the Jaguars made several roster moves this week, of course, officially signing defensive end Smoot, who the Jaguars drafted back in 2017 in the third round. They also signed wide receiver Trenton Irwin from the Bengals and then released wide receiver David White Jr. That one, Mia, was a little sad since he's from Westside High School. And then according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, today they released running back Keelan Robinson. I don't think that's much of a surprise. But certainly let's start with Smoot. I think a fan favorite for sure. Mm-hmm. And being gone, of course, a year, I'm glad now that he's back in the fold and hopefully he retires a Jaguar.
Let's start with this. Mike Dempsey just asked me this during the handoff, and I think it's the best place to start. Is the Jaguars' roster projected sack total higher because of the signing of Smoot, who was, let's be real here, was still on the street on June 4th and available to sign as a free agent? Or is it more so that the locker room, the morale, the fan base is more encouraged by this signing? And I think, Taylor, it's important that both things can certainly be true, but I think that while, yes, the latter outweighs, it's not just because he's a fan favorite. It's because, in my estimation, this is a front office and a general manager identifying, you know what, I'm not going to wait around for Jadeveon Clowney in late August, hypothetically, of course. I'm not going to wait around until at the end of training camp, I look up and say, man, these young undrafted free agent rookies we signed, they're not ready to be rotated in along the interior and along the edge of this defensive front. And we need something behind Emmanuel Ogbah outside of Jalen McLeod, who's going to be a buck linebacker and thus be playing, we still are figuring that out as well. I think that, for me, outweighs what production you might actually get out of Smoot in this juncture, because I don't know how much he has left in the tank at this point.
Yeah, I think Smoot gives you something, and I think that, go figure, adding a player who's actually played that position predominantly in his career, you get more excited about than bringing someone here who hasn't and then switching him to the outside. And that's obviously what I'm talking about last year with Eric Armstead. I think Eric Armstead's obviously coming from that 49ers organization and having a very good career before his time here in Jacksonville. I am more excited about seeing a Smoot play on the outside than I am an Eric Armstead playing on the outside, because I think that's what he does. And yes, I think only played, I think he missed 7 games last year with the Bills. Most of the time he's in that 30% range of when he's on the field. And I think that's
injury last year.
Yeah, he was banged up. And so I do think that when he gets healthy, and you started seeing that even late at the end of last season too with the Bills, and even if he's not getting that direct sack number, he's making impact, and that's the one thing that you can count on with Smoot is he has a really, and last year because of the injury there were factors into it, but outside of last year, his entire career, his pass rush win rate is really good. It's in the green. If you look at the charts, they have the green, yellow, red, whatever. It's always in the green. He's really good at that, and so even though if you're not getting those direct sacks, you are still getting the pressures from him. You're still kind of creating some madness in the backfield when it comes to getting the quarterbacks, and that helps. And I do think the comfortability of everything at him, obviously the familiarity with that position, but also the love for him in the locker room, the type of guy that obviously I think they both factor into this decision. But I personally would expect, I'm not going to say I'm expecting him to get 6, 7, 8 sacks. I would expect 4.
You've got him on the roster, 4 sacks.
Yes.
What say you, Lauren?
I think it depends on how much he's in the rotation. That's the biggest question, of course, when it comes to Jalen McLeod, is what position is he going to play at 6'1", 236. He's not the same guy as Smoot. He's not the same guy as Emmanuel Ogbah. So I do think that this was something that we talked about when Eric Armstead joined John Ozer on the Ozone podcast, when he said last year we only had 4, edge guys, defensive ends, and we had a lot more tackles. And so I think that this regime looked at the roster and said, Yeah, we do. If Agba goes down, or if Josh Hines-Allen, or if Trayvon Walker miss significant snaps, we do need another guy playing that position because maybe McLeod isn't quite to that point. And like I said the other day, when I was out there at the OTA on Monday, he was working with the linebackers. He was not working with those edge guys. So to me, right away, I thought, that's interesting because I considered him more of an edge guy coming out of Auburn. All right, well, let's hear from Dwan Smoot himself.
What up, y'all? It's Dwan Smoot. I'm back. Smoot Gang is back. What up, Jags fans? Let's get it. Hey, get a Duval on 1, 2, 3. Duval! Let's go, man.
Certainly someone who already has a house here is invested in this franchise as anyone. So
and the
that's
community as well.
And the community big time. I mean, in the words of Josh Hines-Allen, I mean, he is the LeBron James of Jacksonville. Maybe not in terms of greatest players of all time in franchise history, but in terms of being one of the greatest humanitarians in the city's history, having played for the Jaguars. Yes, I'd put Smoot up there with anybody because like LeBron James, he literally built a school. But the reason I wanted to begin this conversation with a two-pronged view, again, coming off of the Achilles tear, only played half of the 2023 season. Now, despite only playing half of the 2023 season, because he only played in 12 games, he had just 1 sack in 2023.
He had 5, though, before he tore the Achilles in 2022 in Week 16, which was such a bummer because that's, of course, when the Jags made the playoffs.
We're going to get to play. We will be circling back to that. But my point is, and that's why I led with, I think this is a morale boost. I think it's a vote of confidence in terms of being good at your job from the front office standpoint if you're a Jaguars fan listening and watching this move. But in terms of what sort of production he can bring you, that's where I'm fascinated to see. I hope, Lauren, I hope he is back to that 5-6 sack level form. I don't know if that's to be the case. And so the reason I said put a pin in 2022 and let's circle back, Dwan Smoot before his injury was the third edge on that team. And so he had 5 sacks up to that point before tearing his Achilles on the turf at MetLife, like so many before him.
Arden Key was in the mix then, too.
Correct. Arden Key was the 4th edge. And so he had 4.5 sacks. 5 plus 4.5, 9.5. We can certainly add Roy Robertson-Harris, some of those other interior guys if you want. But point is your edge 3 in half of a season, or I suppose it was technically 15 games. In 15 games, he had 5 sacks. Your edge 4 had 4.5. That's 9.5. And so I ask you this, between Emmanuel Agba, Dwan Smoot, if he is to be your edge 4, between those two players, how many sacks do you need in 2025 for the Jacksonville Jaguars from those two players?
So for me, that stat is not that important. It may help. It may certainly, if the Jaguars are leading in some games, then those guys can come in and kind of clean up. But to me, the bigger thing, Taylor, is what are the pressures and the sacks looking like for Mason Smith, Devon Hamilton, Eric Armstead? To me, if they can get that interior pass rush, because Josh Hines-Allen, assuming they're healthy, Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are going to be the sack leaders on this team, bar none. These edge guys that are the depth pieces, if they can get 3 to 4, that's fantastic. Sure, this team, like we've talked about, has lacked that for the last couple of seasons. But I don't think that you're going to see necessarily wins or losses change because of what the depth guys are doing. I think it's going to be if the interior can get somewhere, if those guys can get somewhere between 3 and 5 themselves, then all of a sudden you're talking about a complete pass rush.
Yeah, I think that I would ideally, to me, if you are talking about your edge group being improved, which is what we're hoping between Agba and now Smoot, then you are getting 9-10 out of those guys. Yeah. Okay. And especially in Campanile defense, because if you go back to Green Bay, and I listed those numbers last week, there were multiple edges who had 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
And so that is part of his game. And so I do think that, and they still have the guys that get 9, 10, 11. That's what the Packers are still able to do that. But I still think that if you're talking about a complete edge room, then you're getting your 2 guys, yes, Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are going to do what they do, but your other 2 guys are getting 9, 10 sacks between the 2 of them. And if that's also if they play all year. If Dwan Smoot misses half the season because of injury, or Agba does, obviously that drastically changes things. And I don't know if I'm saying that directly correlates to wins and losses, but it directly correlates to an improved defensive end room, which we've been asking for.
And to that point, Kenny Clark, obviously more of a run plugger, if you may, in the interior of that Packers defensive front. Just 1 sack a year ago. But to Lauren's point, the pressures and what he creates for other players is equally as important. Devontae Wyatt, 5 sacks from the interior, a player who can move up and down the line so to speak.
Which
Not
Smoot
necessarily a
can
wide
too,
nine, which
Armstead
Smoot can
can,
too.
yeah.
And so can
Trayvon can potentially.
Emmanuel Agba can as well.
Versatile players. What in the world is happening?
I think, though, the big thing for me, because I do agree with Lauren, and I see Billy on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures, said the same thing. It's more about pressures and sacks. We sat here after the 2022 season and said, well, the Jaguars were top 5 in pressures, and those are going to turn into sacks in 2023. And what happened,
They're so
Taylor?
close, and then it just falls apart.
And so that's why I look at this and I say, you need to tell me that you have someone, which is Emmanuel Agba, and I think if he's healthy, DeJuan Smoot, who, if you need to spell Josh Hines-Allen or Trayvon Walker for a snap or two, or if, God forbid, they miss time, I need someone who can go out and get me a sack right now.
Yeah.
And both of those guys can.
Yeah, you still need finishers, and that's it's great to have pressures, but you can go around the league too at the teams that have mediocre defenses, and they're like, they have a ton of pressures, they just can't finish, and so you still need the finishers. I think all of the levels of the defense are important, and that's why we've also focused so much the last couple of weeks on the run stop too, because that's something that I feel like we hadn't talked about enough, because it had been like, get the sacks, get the pressures, get to the quarterback, and then now this year, this coaching staff's more so like, hey, stopping the run is very important, and that leads to other things being successful on the defensive side of the ball. But I do think that even if a lot of those, when you talk about like an assist almost and a sack, those type of Smoot and Agba are guys that can create those opportunities too, and I think that's important, because when you don't have those guys, then it just kind of, and the interior guys that hopefully is now upgraded too, but when you have guys to help, it makes everybody's job a little bit easier, and that has been the problem. And I was looking at just like snap counts for the Packers last year. It was very even. They had a pretty even rotation between Rashawn Gary, Enagbare, Van Ness, Wooden, and Brenton Cox towards the end of the season. So that's probably a reason also why they had a pretty even rotation in numbers when it came to that sack number. And here you would expect Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker to have a way higher snap number than maybe some of that, because they're all between like 48, 53%. They shared that rotation pretty evenly, and that will look a little bit different here. But still, when you have guys that you know you can go out and just send them and get at least opportunities at the quarterback, it's a positive thing.
Well, and it's not just those guys, right? Foye can get to the quarterback. Devin Lloyd can get to the quarterback. Send a safety, right? There are times that...
Send Jarian.
Right. There are times that exotic...
Wait until the Titans road game to do that.
Exotic blitzes confuse quarterbacks, certainly the young ones, and the Jaguars will be playing some young quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud is still young. Certainly Cam Ward is very young, assuming that he wins the battle. And even if he doesn't, Will Levis is still young. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones a little bit less. But I think overall, yes, the defense has to have that edge depth that we have cried out for, but it also collectively has to know exactly when to be able to put their foot on the pedal, right? Like to put their foot on the neck, I should say, of the other team. That certainly has been lacking the last 2 years. The collapse in 2023 and certainly all of last year. In that moment in the game when it's the other team has 4th and 4, or I should say 3rd and 4, that's when you have to get to the quarterback, or that's when you have to stuff the run, whatever the opposing team does. And this team, that urgency, they have not been able to get off the field. And so I don't care where it comes from. At the end of the day, that's what you have to do. All right, let's get it to the Knicks on the other side and the craziness that was firing Tom Thibodeau. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Summer's hot. Sports are cool. This summer, cool off with Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Now's the perfect time to order logo coffee mugs or maybe a logoed stick brand tumbler. They're seriously ice cold and look great with your company logo. Hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all. It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club is an attractive destination for golfers all over the Southeast. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that will test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time at hiddenhillsgc.com.
I-9 Sports is geared up for fun for kids all over the First Coast with summer and fall registration now open. Kids ages 3 to 17 can get in the gym or on the field with I-9 Sports, covering Clay, Duval, St. John's. And I-9 has all-girls flag football at Oakleaf, UNF, Fletcher, and Creekside. Plenty of other spots and sports on the First Coast to take advantage of. Don't miss out. Registration now open for summer and fall at I-9 Sports. Enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount.
When you want to be heard, send your opinion to the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
Thank you for believing in me when the bosses didn't give me a chance.
641-1010. No texting and driving. Get your thoughts heard on 1010XL.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hacker here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Look, the summer has arrived. Memorial Day is in the rearview mirror. It's vacation season for me, and over the next couple of weeks, whether it's a cruise, going out to Las Vegas, I'm going to bust out the tank tops, man. I'm going to show off the bod a little bit. Now, would I have done that 100 pounds ago? Of course not, but thanks to the great folks at Awaken 180 Weight Loss, I really have a new lease on life. It's life changing. I'm in the maintenance program now, doing really well, right? The weight is not coming back on. That's almost as rewarding, if not a little more rewarding. It's one thing to lose the weight. It's something else to keep it off. I've been able to do that with the great folks of Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If it's time in your life to make that change like it was for me, go to awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. If I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. I'm here to share that the Gator Bowl is actually a year-round organization. We're known for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl football game, which has been a Jacksonville staple for more than 80 years. Off the football field, the Gator Bowl is also host to the annual Florida State baseball game, a champion of local youth through Gator Bowl charities, and a strong networking organization of local individuals and companies through our membership. We're actually looking to grow membership, which is an affordable, fun way for you to get involved and give back to our community. To learn more, visit GatorBowl.com for more information.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home at the newly renovated 5-Star Ballpark this week. Tomorrow is Wear at Home Wednesday t-shirt giveaway presented by Renewal by Anderson and Better Health. Tomorrow, River City Pride and ViStar present Pride Night on Coors Light Thirsty Thursday. Then it's Red Shirt Friday with fireworks, followed by our salute to the Negro Leagues weekend. More fireworks and giveaways on Saturday and Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day. Baseball all weekend. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
AC Hotline, how can I help?
Help! Our AC isn't working, and my husband's pouring ice cubes down his pants.
Wow, okay, well, we can help with the AC issue.
Please. I'm afraid he's going to damage something.
Okay, I'm going to connect you with the Duck.
The Doc?
No, the Duck. Duck Air Conditioning. Jacksonville area's AC experts.
Okay, tell them to hurry.
Beat the Florida heat with Duck Air Conditioning. Service, repairs, new installations, commercial or residential. Trust the Duck. DuckAC.com.
Brendan here with Checkmate Coating. No massive overhead means top prices on top quality pool decks, driveways, garages, and patios too.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Come over here, sit next to me.
Erdall, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Just about 10 minutes away from Jamie Erdall joining us, the host of NFL Network's Good Morning Football. So we will chat a little Knicks, and then we will welcome in her on the other side. Thumbs up from me on the Goldfish Old Bay. If they want to sponsor the show, feel free.
A little spicier than I anticipated, but
really?
I am here for it. The Old Bay is alive and well. It's not just a little sprinkling, folks.
I think they are delicious. So happy to report that if you want to try them, I think you'll like them. I didn't think they were spicy, but I also love spicy stuff, so I'm probably a bad gauge on that. All right, let's get it to the New York Knickerbockers. They fired the head coach yesterday. We had the Luka Doncic trade live on our show.
Mm-hmm.
So I was glad that another show got some other breaking news when it comes to the NBA, because this one, of course, surprised, I think, most people. Yes, there's the stat that Tom Thibodeau, Tibbs, only played 7 guys, and that's why guys were worn down, which I find completely ironic, Mia, because I had said, are the Knicks the Gators, this year's version of the Gators, because of that youth, but also the comeback wins and how they were able to just climb back into certain games. But talk about you couldn't have more opposite philosophies, and Todd Golden playing so many different guys down the stretch, and Thibodeau not.
And that's the argument, right? It's this philosophical debate of, can you have such a tight rotation in a day and age where the wear and tear on a basketball floor night in, night out has prompted load management in the league? Taylor, I'm going to give you the floor, because the stats that you gave me last night, for me, this is where the Tom Thibodeau argument has to begin. Every team that has said goodbye to Tibbs has regretted it for at least the next 2 to how many years has it been, Taylor?
Yeah, a decade now for the Bulls. Yeah. And I think that, and we've had this conversation on different levels for many different leagues, when it comes to Major League Baseball, when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to now the NBA. The coaches of sometimes I feel like you get a little ahead of yourself, and in the sense of, okay, things are good, but they're not great. The grass is greener over there. We could get somebody and you'd win it all. And the next thing you know, you get that next coach and things are bad for a long time. And so I saw the one stat, and I was looking at it yesterday too, because I really wanted to know immediately. All the Bulls side of Twitter was going ham, like, bring Tibbs back, get rid of Billy, like blah, blah, blah.
Poor Billy.
Third longest tenured coach now in the NBA, by the way, Billy Donovan.
Yeah. So the Bulls, with Tibbs as head coach, he was there for 5 seasons. He had a record of 255 and 139. They had 5 playoff appearances, 1 conference final appearance, and they won 4 series during that time. He was there for 5 years. They made the playoffs every single year. They made the conference final during that year. They fired him. Since then, the Bulls, and I have the number written on, I should have brought it in here, but it's something crazy. Like, since he's left, their win-loss record has almost completely flipped, and I can't remember the exact number, but it's almost the complete opposite of what it was. And then, they've only made the playoffs twice in 10 years now. They haven't won a single series in that time, and clearly, if that happens, then you're not getting to any Eastern Conference Finals either. And so they go through and they compare that. He was with the Knicks for 5 years. He has a 226 to 174 record, 4 playoff appearances, and 1 conference final appearance. And obviously the Knicks, 25 years since they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's just interesting, and maybe options are better for them, and maybe they do find a coach that can just take them over that hump, and that will be kind of the fascinating thing. But it's just more so like, I feel bad for him, because I was like, you took these 2 organizations that were in massive ruts when you took them over. The Bulls were in the same position. Obviously, they had all the 90s runs with Michael Jordan and Pippen and all of them, and then they had a little bit of rut, and then Derrick Rose comes, and you feel like you have this glimpse of something, and then everything kind of just falls apart again. And so I do think that when you look at the comparison of those 2, it's almost identical for each team, but the complaint of each team was also the same thing of, you just don't have, and some of this, I don't know, is it the roster building, or is it what Tibbs does? Like, does he just not have the players to be able to run 8-9 guys deep? And I know at the certain time in the Bulls, he definitely didn't have that. Some of the times you felt like maybe he could have used some guys different ways, but it's just fascinating to see how similar these 2 have gone. But now what happens to the Knicks after? Because if something happens to the Knicks, similar to the Bulls, where this next decade they have a couple playoff appearances, they win a play-in game here or there, it's going to be the same exact conversation once again.
Yeah, and like you said, you feel bad for him, but I guarantee he'll land on his feet. He signed, by the way, last year he signed a 3-year deal that was supposed to keep him with the Knicks through the 27-2028 season. So, you know what?
He's getting paid.
Yeah, he's getting paid, and like I said, he will find a team, and I'm sure he'll end up having a lot of success.
But it has to be like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I just brought
it's
this
public
team
perception.
After 20.
And it's what the owner wants, and certainly things like that. All right, we will head to break as we bring in Jamie Erdall on the other side, host of NFL Network's Good Morning Football Chat with her, all things NFL. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Driving home with a Franchi show.
Let's go home! Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen! Let's go home!
Because there's no place like home.
Let's go home! Let's go home!
Afternoons on 1010XL.
June is Men's Health Month. Be proactive towards your prostate, ED, low T, even kidney stones with Ackerman Urology. Offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, the Beaches, and World Golf Village. Trust the men's health experts at AckermanUrology.com.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and Heels.
AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee and Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand-new offices at Walk-Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 4th, 1976, the Boston Celtics beat the Suns 128-126 in triple overtime, the longest NBA Finals game in history.
Looking for a great place to enjoy some craft creations and soak up some scenery? Fernandina's Mocama Beer Company is a must-see and must-try. Nassau County knows it. Visitors need to find out about it. Mocama means near the big water where the sun is born. And if you visit their tap room in Fernandina Beach, you'll see how they've mastered equal parts precision and art in creating great flavors from IPAs to Pilsners, lagers, and sours, plus plenty more. Mocama.com, Mocama Beer Company. Start an adventure and find them in Fernandina.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com, C-O-Y-L-E, jacks.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
An honor and a privilege to be joined by the one and only Jamie Erdall of Good Morning Football, the NFL Network, oh so much more. Someone who I know I've looked up to since my early days in the world of sports media, and of course now killing it with the crew at GMFB. What's going on, Jamie? Thanks so much for hopping on Helmets and Heels.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get into the very latest around the National Football League, I did want to note some very special programming that ties in perfectly with what we do here on Helmets and Heels each and every day, Monday to Friday. Coming up later this week, let the folks know what they can look forward to.
So tomorrow and Friday, you'll turn on your TVs at whatever time you do, since I know there's a lot of reruns of GMFB that pops up. And we're going to do all the same stuff we normally do on GMFB, especially on Thursdays. Throwdown Thursdays, 3 and Out. We're going to play a couple games. We'll touch on all the topics. The people at the table, though, it's going to be myself, and it's going to be an entire cast of women. And that's something really exciting that we've been working on. I asked my boss to do this back in February, and we were able to find a couple of days to make this thing work. And it's important to us to just make sure that we stay GMFB, a show that people love to watch, talk about football at the national level. And but the people that will be on it will be women, some of the leading voices in the NFL. And that's what's really been important to me. This is not going to be a couple episodes of women in football. It's women covering football. So come watch GMFB like you normally would, but you'll see a couple new faces on it.
I think that's amazing. When it comes to your favorite part of the show, because you've had different people come and go, and we've had that here too, honestly. So what is your favorite part when you wake up every day, Jamie?
Oh, man, trying to just stay on my toes with the different things the different people are going to say. It's hard enough to keep track of what Kyle Brandt is going to come up with, and I know I've known him now for 3 years. So you have to imagine that when it is somebody new, like we just had John Robinson, the former GM of the Titans, on for the last 3 days. He brought some things to the table that were unforeseen, I would say, and it's a challenge. It does get exhausting at times. It's hard to get to know new people in life, let alone hard enough to do it in a small window on live television, and make sure you put them in a good spot and make sure we're providing the viewers with something interesting and innovative to listen to. So it can be tiring at times, which is why I think a consistent cast is obviously favored in moments. But the off season, we really just like to have fun and bring new people through, give former and current players a little tryout if they want to dip their toes in the TV. And we just like being a really welcoming and fun place to come and have people show up and talk about football.
Do you prefer the off season or do you prefer football season for the show?
Oh, man, great question. The off season is when I'm allowed to take my vacation. So I will say, I'll say in season. I just like being on the merry-go-round. You know, when I'm on it, it feels a little crazy and it feels like it's been going on for a long time. You know, weeks 11 through 14 get a little daunting. But when I'm off of the merry-go-round, I just feel like it's that thing, that entity in my life that's like far away in a dream, and I'm reaching out to it. Like, I just want to get back to the merry-go-round. So that's how I feel right now, as we're like 100 days out in the season.
Jamie, I am personally a big fan of the wildness of Kyle Brandt. He's one of my favorite, and he keeps me cracking up, honestly, on a daily basis when we're watching. But let's start there before we get fully into the Jaguars, that Titans conversation you were just talking about and some of the craziness coming out of that, because the AFC South has been an interesting conversation the last few years. The ups and downs of the Jaguars, the ups and downs of the Texans, kind of the Titans just trying to figure things out, and the Colts with Anthony Richardson. But what were some of the things coming out of that you took with the Titans and where their mindset is right now?
Well, you know, I feel for any team that has to reset on a quarterback conversation yet again, and the Titans have had to do that a few too many times, I'm sure, than they would prefer. You guys don't have to deal with that. You know your guy, and you're locked in for a long time now with Trevor Lawrence. But, you know, everyone hopes that Cam Ward is the guy. Obviously, Cam Ward's camp does all the stops that he's made along the way. They believe in Cam Ward. But the ultimate question is just, you don't have to look very far in recent quarterback draft history to see more struggles than you have successes. And that, I don't know if that's an indictment on we're starting quarterbacks too young. I don't know if that's just teams are too needy and desperate for them to get going too fast and ramping them up. But I hope for the best for Cam Ward. I got to get to know him a little bit during the draft process and the weekend in Green Bay, and just seems like an absolutely stand-up young man, and it's what the Titans deserve. You know, I don't know why the Titans, you know, become that part of that low-hanging fruit conversation that Kyle always refers to. It's like, why don't we talk about the Titans? Why don't we pay Cam Ward any attention? I just feel like this would be the season for them to jump up and grab a hold of an AFC South, to your point, that's fully up for grabs. It's going to be the division that I struggle with the most in terms of picking the team that will lead it, because I think it is a wide open race.
Oh, don't worry, Jamie. We cover it, and we say it every day. If chaos is going to happen, it's going to happen in the AFC South. Jamie Erdall of Good Morning Football, our guest on the Checkmate Coatings Hotline. Of course, you could check out the all-female cast of Good Morning Football Thursday and Friday this week on the NFL Network. Let's dive a little bit further into the hometown team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jamie, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this. You can't say Travis Hunter. Mm-hmm. What storyline in Jacksonville right now are you most intrigued by?
Two come to mind. I covered Liam Cohen when he was at Kentucky. He was at Kentucky for one season. Will Levis, I think, was the quarterback. Mm-hmm. 2021. I was on the SEC on CBS. And there was just something about, in our production meetings, with Liam Cohen and what he had been able to do with that Kentucky offense, and how rare it is for us to see successfully coaches not only flip from college to the NFL, but to do it multiple times. The Liam Cohen bandwagon, the stops along the way, is, I think, one of the most fascinating coaching resumes that we're seeing actively unfold in front of our eyes. I'm excited for him to be a head coach. I do think the departure from Tampa Bay looked a little awkward from the outside, not going to lie. I'm curious to see how that thing goes and just how he's able to take over the city and the building and the organization. So I'm a Liam Cohen fan. I'm excited to see what he could do and if he could replicate what he had going on with Baker. I also think what Brian Thomas Jr. did last season was woefully underrated, and it wasn't looked at enough. It wasn't appreciated enough, and you guys had a tough year, but that's a talent right there. And now all of a sudden, if I am allowed now to say Travis Hunter's name, I will say that in that wide receivers room of Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, that's just going to be electric factory, and I can't wait to see it.
And when the Jaguars traded up for Travis Hunter, Jamie, obviously the conversation was, will he play more wide receiver? Will he play more corner? And I think that's what we are certainly watching closely. As far as James Gladstone, the GM, have you enjoyed some of his buzz phrases?
Yeah. I mean, you can't not. I feel like somebody that young and that green and that relatively unknown to the national spotlight of the GM position, unless you're really entrenched in West Coast, executives in the NFL, you're not going to be like, where'd this guy come from? So we're getting to know him in real time. you got to have something. It's like being on social media and like having your niche on TikTok. Like James Gladstone, like you're turning this into catchphrase of the day, and I'm here for it. But most impressive was honestly standing backstage in Green Bay and hearing that the Jags did what they did to go up to get that number 2 spot. That was a true, like, okay, like, what are we doing here? And who is this guy? And who is this new regime? I was super impressed and surprised, and kind of like the rest of the division, like you gave us something to talk about, Jags. I applaud that.
Well, thank you. I feel like the Jaguars are good at giving things to talk about, but I want to go back to Travis Hunter a little bit, just because I want to what you've heard from conversations you've had and what you've seen. I know that the playing both sides of the ball is going to be this big thing we're paying attention to in OTAs and then when camp comes. And I don't think it's so much of the ability. I think most people think he has the ability to do it. It's more of the ins and outs of the playbook and getting reps and practice on both sides of the ball. From what you've heard, what is the confidence level of people thinking he can really do both this season?
Everything that I've come across in terms of former players, and you run this idea by them, and Manti Te'o was recently on the show, and the best way he explained it was I actually had it was before the draft, because I had this massive binder in front of me. It was like 200 pages, and he was like, give me that binder. And he had one too. And he's like, you have to understand, in college, the playbook is like 6 sheets stapled together, and that's why the truly athletic guys really shine through. In the NFL, this is your offense and this is your defense. And it was these 200-page binders. And he's not Hermione Granger wearing the little stopwatch that transplanted her in different movies and Harry Potter to different classes. Like, he can't be in the offensive and the defensive meetings the way that you have to if you want to play both sides of the ball thoroughly. It sounds like, I don't know if this has been asked of him, but he had such a campaign going, a personal campaign before the draft, advocating for himself to play 2 sides of the ball. That I haven't heard as much from him since he's been drafted, and I actually appreciate that. It's almost like he knows where he's going to be now, and he's going to respect the procedure and how the Jags are going to work with him. I like what the Jaguars are doing. They're still keeping us on our toes. They're trying to work out what's the best case scenario. For a long time, this was conjecture. It's not anymore. We know where he's going to be. We know what jersey he's going to be wearing for the next 4 seasons. Now it's up to Liam Cohen and the masterminds there to figure out what's the best case scenario for this young man. Because the last thing we want to do is put him in a bad spot, shake his confidence, which seems like confidence that's unshakable, but I still don't even want to test those waters. And I just want to see him shine, and I don't need to see it 100% of the snaps on each side. I just want to see him to be great, and then he can be just kind of great on the other side of the ball. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect on both sides right from the jump.
I have long said that I want a time turner like Hermione Granger. Who doesn't? Well, actually, that's a great segue, Jamie, because sometimes I've joked with people as I've now taken over our Jaguar-centric daily podcast, Duval Rundown here at 1010XL, that I do need a time turner or at least human cloning to be invented at some point before football season starts. And in turn, I'm going to kind of use you as prep for our very special guest from up in Minneapolis this Friday on Duval Rundown. I am fascinated, and this is going to be kind of the premise of Friday's show, so I want to workshop with you, knowing, of course, your roots in Minnesota as a Vikings fan. Kevin O'Connell arrives having spent the last 2 years learning at the foot of Sean McVay in Minnesota, taking over for a long-tenured coach, a hard-nosed, old-school guy in Mike Zimmer. Not that Doug Peterson was hard-nosed or old school here in Jacksonville, but take us back in time to the transition to Kevin O'Connell, and maybe is there anything we can glean from KOC, who may just be one of one, like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, but is there anything we can glean from that transition that we could apply to Liam Cohen in his first year in Jacksonville as a head coach?
Wow, what an excellent question. I never thought of it that way. You always just look at a coach starting as this new era, and I never really thought of it as like the whole building has to change over. Now, I will tell you this, that when I stopped by the Vikings building last fall when I did my overly emotional and celebratory Gallarhorn situation on Sunday Night Football, that I was in the Vikings' new facility for the first time, and someone did make mention to me that the way that it was decorated, let's just say, was very different from when Mike Zimmer was there, which I don't think there were a lot of frills, and I don't think there was a lot of celebration to what the Vikings had going on in the past, and also celebrating the guys that are currently there in the building. I think there was a changeover in that capacity in the Kevin O'Connell era. There's stuff on the walls. There's, you're happy for the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Like, it's all these kind of, feel good sometimes can be used as a negative term, but it's like feel good stuff in the Vikings building. It's like, we celebrate being here. We celebrate working in the building. Having a young guy like Liam Cohen, who I have to imagine has such respect, like I mentioned before, having touched both the college level and the NFL, that like allowing him to praise on his guys, allowing him to show positive light, shine a positive light on his players, giving him that space to do so. And I think not just immediately going for the negative, immediately trying to unearth something that you must be there. We have to get to it, coach. Because I think these younger generation coaches, I'm hoping, are kind of in the new school of praise and love will go a lot farther than screaming and being a tyrant. And not that old school style didn't work at the time. I just think allowing for that, not being judgmental of it, just giving him the space to love on a player, and maybe not in interview styles being like, what the heck is going on with so-and-so? Because that might turn them off, to just from the jump.
Because, of course, that brings us, as so many conversations here on Helmets and Heels do, Jamie, to Trevor Lawrence. And the viral clip of Kevin O'Connell in the headset, in the helmet of Sam Darnold, praising Sam Darnold. I am very curious, as I'm sure you are as well, not that we ever got a mic'd up of Baker Mayfield and Liam Cohen's conversations in the headset, but I am so fascinated to see, as KOC lifted the confidence and spirits of Sam Darnold, how Liam Cohen approaches that here.
Listen, as a parent to young girls, I've got 3 daughters. They're 6, 4, and 1. I constantly remind myself that this relationship has to last a lifetime, and it's gonna turn sour a lot faster if I become a yeller or a screamer, if I'm down on them or negative on them. It's so much easier to have the longevity of a relationship if you lead with praise. There's going to be hard conversations, which I can assure you KOC had to have with Sam Darnold at times. But if you lead with praise and follow up with feedback, I think that's going to carry you so much farther than anything else. And that's what I mean about the new generation of coaches. And perhaps Liam Cohen will be like this, and maybe he was like this with Baker Mayfield. Because I don't think there's, Baker Mayfield's resurgence, I think, coincided with he really settled in as a grown-up in his personality. This is the best version, both on and off the field, of Baker Mayfield that we have seen. And I don't think there's no reason why we shouldn't see the same or a similar thing happen with the relationship between Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence.
Jamie, if I told you that Trevor Lawrence is a polarizing figure in Jacksonville, would you believe me?
Polarizing? No, I wouldn't. Why?
There's a camp of people that believe Trevor is trash. He should never have gotten the extension. And then there's, of course, the other camp of people. And there's people in the middle. But then there's the other camp of people that say when he's healthy, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. Okay.
Polarizing is such a heavy word, and he's such a talented quarterback. I'm surprised to hear it used in that context. I will say this, because when I started on Good Morning Football, I sat next to Jason McCourty for 2 years, and let's just say I was not towards the end, I was over the Kirk Cousins time in Minnesota. It was just like I didn't appreciate it. He's a great quarterback, but I was ready for something new. And Jason always used to turn to me and say, who else are you going to get? Who is next? What is your next option? The teams that have a guy, that have a dude, they think that they could get something better. But the teams that don't have somebody, you think the New Orleans Saints wouldn't be happy with Trevor Lawrence? You think the New Orleans Saints wouldn't be happy with one of these options? So be careful what you wish for, those people who think that Trevor Lawrence is trash. It's so intense. I can't believe that that's feedback that he's actually getting. That is a gifted man at quarterback, and you don't want to know what life is like without a guy like that. And I think you have to give him an opportunity now with a new regime, knowing how talented he is, before you can pass a judgment like that.
The sad part is this fan base should know. They had Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles for crying out loud. And no offense, but Gardner Minshew too.
Yeah.
Jason McCourty, who else are you going to get? I'd be like, dang it, Jason. I would always used to be so mad at him when he would just give me that reality check. It was like getting elbowed in the ribs in a basketball game. I was like, I don't know, but I just want to move on from this.
Jamie, before we let you go, I do want to ask you one thing about the defensive side of the ball, since you being a Vikings fan, you are familiar, obviously, with Coach Campanile. He says we can say say it whatever way we want to say it.
Just don't call him late for dinner.
Yeah. But obviously, he has a lot of ties with a lot of good defensive-minded coaches, a Brian Flores, a Vic Fangio, Jeff Hafley in Green Bay this last season. And so what are kind of your expectations from what you saw that Green Bay defense last year and maybe that Miami defense when he was there, what he can bring to Jacksonville with the personnel that he does have here?
Well, gosh, the Green Bay, the Dolphins experience, but that's a Jersey guy, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he was up and coming in a New Jersey pipeline of coaches, and then to enter, again, the college ranks, and then to go through all the way to the Packers and the Dolphins, and now the Jags. I just love this young staff. You know, I understand, you know, the Eagles last year when Sirianni went out and he had to make some hirings, for him to go young with Kellen Moore, but then to go, quote-unquote, old. I don't want to offend Vic Fangio, but to go experienced, so I'll say that, seasoned with Vic Fangio. That's a way to do it, and obviously that worked for the Eagles. But I do love this vibe that the vibe check that the Jags are putting out, which is just like, this is a place that we are going to appreciate you. We are your peers. We are going to work together towards one collective goal, which is, I can assume, to win a division and win playoff games. So for a defense to be picked up the way that the Packers did last year, and for Liam Cohen to go out and get Coach Camp and bring him to Jacksonville, I just think the intention here with what Gladstone's trying to do is just have this youthful interjection of energy. Coach Camp's going to be a part of that. That's what I'm going to call him now, instead of having
Coach exactly. Much easier.
Yeah, Coach Camp. I think you got to be able to hang too. But again, this is a division for the taking. You don't have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in your division, okay? You can go out and take on some of these teams and dominate them if you have the opportunity. So I just think it's working towards the collective goal as a young group, and I'm sure that defense will be a part of it.
Jamie, you've been so gracious with your time, but to close the circle before we let you go, I do have to ask, Grant Udinski, if I had told you when he arrived with KOC in Minnesota that he would be an offense coordinator, albeit not a play-calling one 3 years later, your reaction would be?
What? Like that fast? That happened that fast? I mean, he looks like, Grant Udinski, he looks like Will Reichard, who is the now second-year kicker for the Minnesota Vikings. He was an Alabama kicker when I was covering Alabama, so that's the only reason why I know that face. Grant Udinski, again, born in 96 is so ridiculous to me. But whatever. The guys are wearing the headsets, and they have control of an offense. And I tell you, sometimes it's decisions like this where it all works. And I know a guy like that where you watched under an excellent play caller in KOC and an excellent quarterback coach in Josh McCown. And if you can put that headset on and help out Liam Cohen and support in a capacity, the sky, I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it anyways, the sky is the limit for Udinski.
They said they'd be bold. They went bold. Jamie Erdall, we can't thank you enough for joining us here in the bold city on Helmets and Heels on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. As you head out the door, verbally or metaphorically, of course, remind the folks what we have coming up on Good Morning Football this week.
Yeah, Thursday and Friday, NFL Network. Come watch Good Morning Football. We're going to talk about your team, but we're going to do it. There's all-female cast on GMFB Thursday and Friday this week. So come watch us, hang out with us. We'll talk about your team. We'll cover the NFL, and it's all women.
Thank you, Jamie. By the way, Will Reichard was born in 2001.
Okay.
The kicker.
A little bit older. It's fine.
Yeah.
Alarming. Just a couple years, though. Not that crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Yep.
All right, there she goes.
Appreciate you guys.
Yes, NFL Network, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, and then followed by Good Morning Football Overtime at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Roku channel and syndicated across local TV. Yeah, that all-star cast will be tomorrow and Friday, that all-female show that they'll do on Good Morning Football. Lots of good stuff there from Jamie. We'll break some of that down on the other side and get to our highlights. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Can you crack the code?
I'm sending you the code.
1010XL. Isolating his radio.
925.
The clock is ticking.
Get all that?
Ready to add some value to your day? The everyday deals at Sonny's have got you covered. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for 10, the pork and rib combo for 12, all you can eat ribs for $19.99, and our new loaded barbecue potato for $11. Available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Want a simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just a job, but an experience, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
The 2025 season schedule has dropped, and single-game tickets are on sale now. Be at the bank to watch Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL. Don't miss your favorite matchup and secure your tickets now by visiting jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. See you this fall, Jags fans.
Yes, sir. That's the best decision.
I love it.
It's a battle of football champions as your Sharks take on the Arizona Rattlers. Don't miss any of the action this Saturday, June 7th. Discover the thrill of indoor football. It's fast-paced, action-packed, and full of family fun. Try the new Family 4-Pack. 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card for only $100. Get tickets at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
It's a battle of football champions as your Sharks take on the Arizona Rattlers. Don't miss any of the action this Saturday, June 7th. Discover the thrill of indoor football. It's fast-paced, action-packed, and full of family fun. Try our Family Fun Pack. 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Al's Pizza gift card for only $100. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks!
Where does Northeast Florida buy cars? Arlington Toyota. Mia here, and why Arlington? Selection. Arlington has over 800 new and used vehicles all in one location with everyday low prices. Plus right now, save big with 0 down and just $288 per month for a pre-owned 2023 Toyota Corolla. Or how about no payments till January 2026 and 60-day exchange. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter-mile east of 295, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, Hicken here. Tired of glasses or contacts? Discover customized vision solutions at Bowden & Associates. Dr. Bowden's team offers cutting-edge options like Evo implantable Collamer lenses or refractive lens exchange and classic LASIK, designed to fit your life. Picture perfect vision for reading, driving, or just enjoying the day. It's easier than you think. Call now for your free screening. Bowden & Associates, they're keeping the First Coast focused.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. ET here with Tintin XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. The Florida Gators annual matchup against rival Florida State has reportedly been scheduled. Florida will host the Seminoles on November 11th, according to CBS Sports, marking the 76th time that these two teams have met. A tip-off will be announced at a later date. Staying with Florida men's basketball, ESPN Events has announced that the UConn men's basketball team will return to the Jimmy V Classic for the 2025 iteration of the contest against the Florida Gators on December 9th at Madison Square Garden. The Huskies will battle Florida in a matchup of the last three national champions in a rematch of the 2025 NCAA second round thriller. Currently 81 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We go together. Better than birds of a feather, you and me.
We were just chatting with Jamie Erdall of NFL Network and Good Morning Football. And I asked her the question about Trevor Lawrence being polarizing. Maybe that's not the exact right word, but I do feel like, and I talked to some friends over the weekend that literally had just a complete and total lack of faith in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they were all out on him. And of course, I'm trying to explain, I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I have full faith in Trevor Lawrence, especially now in this offense. But it is interesting that it feels like that's more of a within the fan base thing than it is a national thing.
Yeah, I think it's divisive. It's been divisive here. And I think part of that is because anybody who obviously has more attachment to that organization is going to have a stronger opinion probably on certain things like that. And I do think that from a more national perspective, number one, unfortunately, they just don't talk Jags as much as other people. Good Morning Football does, and I do think they are very heavy on Jaguars talk, and they always give Jags love. Kyle's one that always is shouting out the Jags. There's people on there constantly that want to make sure that this organization is being talked about, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes it's been bad stuff, but they still make sure that this is something that's not just kind of like pushed to the side. Outside of that, I do think a lot of times they kind of neglect the conversation. So maybe that's why it's not as the word like polarizing in other senses, because people just don't have the conversation as much about it. And I do think that because there's just been so much bad, people are kind of like, all right, well, it's just the same thing. So we don't need to have this conversation until it really changes. And so, and that's maybe the mindset of there, because I just know, like when I've traveled, for example, and I talk to people and I'm like, what do you think of Trevor? And they're like, I don't really know. Like, I mean,
They've
he's
just
all right.
forgotten.
Like, he's good.
Like, he was good at
whatever.
Clemson because that was on national TV, because that was on ABC, because I could watch that.
Yeah.
It's at the national perspective, it's that ultimately he's a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah.
It's going to be polarizing. There were fans in Kansas City calling for Brett Veach and Patrick Mahomes' job after they lost to the Las Vegas Raiders and Antonio Pierce on Christmas Day 2023.
Yeah.
So, this is always going to be a case, regardless of where you are in your career as the quarterback, regardless of which NFL city you play in. That's just the state of affairs, and that's why I don't think Trevor bats an eye at it. Now, at the same time, does he believe he could play better? I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that he sees the press clippings. He sees the people who say, oh, we don't care about Jacksonville. We don't care about him. That's got to rile you up if you truly are the competitor that I believe, having spent the last 5+ years with him, that I believe Trevor Lawrence is. Even if, yes, to your point, Lauren, I've had a lot of very influential people in the state of Florida come up to me and say, I don't know if he's got that edge, though. I don't know if he's got, and I can just tell you that in my conversations, I feel like it's there. It may not be maniacal Tom Brady, but maybe it can get there at some point in time, because I don't know if Tom Brady was that outwardly maniacal in the early phase of his career.
I guess what I would say is it's probably 80% are in the mindset of Trevor hasn't gotten there yet, but we believe he can get there with the right system around him and the weapons. And then maybe it's 20% that either have completely given up or just don't think that even with everything going right, they just think whether it's injury or whether it's the turnovers, that he's just never going to be a top 15 quarterback in the NFL.
You are not a taco. You can't please everyone, Trevor. It's just fine.
And some people don't even like tacos.
I have that sign up in my wall in the office for a reason. 537 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Trevor Lawrence is an average NFL quarterback. Those are hard to come by.
I mean, average
and I think,
is a whole that's a whole different conversation.
Of what that average, and that's also where we always go back to the part of what was told when he was drafted, and that's the problem with I think a lot of people had, because all they were hearing was that Trevor Lawrence was generational and Trevor Lawrence was elite and he was the most NFL-ready quarterback to come out of the draft in a long time. And it's going to be this instant impact. And it hasn't been that. So
Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
That's what as soon as people say generational, I'm like, maybe he would be.
Yeah.
What if his first year was with a play caller like Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah.
Or not Kyle Shanahan, but Sean McVay, someone who's super
And I'm sure
innovative.
there's a lot of quarterbacks out there saying that okay, well, put me in the right spot and I could have been a lot better. So I do think that some people, though, just because the expectations were so high, that it's hard to kind of grasp like what average is. Like, what is average if your quarterback was supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks to be in the NFL? And that's where it gets skewed. But if you kind of have the conversation of you just need you need a good quarterback, would you put Jalen Hurts as elite? Would you put Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback? I think Jalen Hurts can do some really good things, and obviously the way he can use his legs kind of takes him to that next level. But most people are not putting him in that conversation with Mahomes, Burrow, and Josh Allen. It's them, and then there's that next tier of guys. And so you can win Super Bowls without having one of those top three guys. Joe Burrow and Josh Allen don't have Super Bowls, and that's another example. Buffalo Bills organization a couple years ago were also saying Josh Allen's not it. He can't win any of these big games. We're never going to win the Super Bowl with Josh Allen because he turns the ball over too much. And then he just had one of his best career years this last year once things kind of settled around him, and they changed the game plan and they simplified some stuff and they made him didn't ask so much of him. And that's kind of what we're hoping this year with Trevor Lawrence.
So I just pulled up the QBR for all the NFL quarterbacks in 2024. And of course, like to use the word average or median, Trevor is 16th on the list. So if you were to take that out of 32, that's right in the middle. But just a couple spots ahead of him is Baker Mayfield at 13.
Mm-hmm.
We will take Baker Mayfield here in Jacksonville with what he was able to do last season all day long. The stats of the QBR, that's just one example, but the stats don't necessarily tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And that's where I would go back to. I think Trevor Lawrence is incredibly talented. I think he lacks sometimes the situational awareness of what to do, whether that's to fully protect the football, not go for that extra yard, or whether that's to go out of bounds at a certain time or throw it away, don't throw the pick.
Yeah.
All those types of things, clock management, like that's where I thought he needed to improve the most. But you can't do that in the offseason. You can work on it, but you can't fully see those results until the season starts and the bullets fly. All right, let's get into this week's highlights.
Now, here's highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
Ellie De La Cruz homers the day after his sister passed away.
Ellie De La Cruz's older sister passed away yesterday after a lengthy battle. Ellie was adamant about wanting to play today. This very private person did not want to talk about it publicly. We certainly honor that, but definitely send our thoughts and prayers to he and his family, playing with a major heavy heart today.
Runner goes high in the air, down the right field line. Fair ball! Home run, Ellie De La Cruz. Spoiled, Reds are on the board. It's 5-2. And that has to be a homer with major meaning for the Reds shortstop.
Tom Thibodeau fired by the Knicks. The internet is ablaze and Stu Gott's reaction is one of the best things on the internet.
So I am leaving with Tom Thibodeau, and the only way that James Dolan and the Knicks can get me back as a fan for firing a coach who got us to the first Eastern Conference Finals we've been in 25 years, brought energy back to that building and that city, okay? The only way I'm coming back, and by the way, the K in CAT stands for Coach Killer. The only way I come back, James Dolan, okay? This is the only way. This is it. Hear me loud and clear. LeBron, I don't care if Bronny coaches the team if you get LeBron, okay? LeBron, one of the Van Gundys with that beautiful head of hair on James Jay Wright. I don't even need Jay Wright. Just his head of hair. He can coach us on the sidelines, all right? That's the only way I'm coming back. Until then, I'll be hanging out with Tom Thibodeau. Wherever he goes, I go. Unless it's LeBron, one of the Van Gundys, or Jay Wright's hair.
The Ole Miss baseball comeback came up just short.
That one driven out towards right field. Back to the wall. It's gone! The first home run of the year for Braden Randall makes it a 12-11 game. Hit out towards center field. Hogart underneath it. Murray State races into Super Regionals for the first time in program history.
Look at the hops on those dog piles.
By process of elimination, I'm going to say, or deductive reasoning, I guess I should say, Mia, you went with the Tom Thibodeau, Dan Le Batard?
Because I get the show, correct.
Okay.
It was so funny, by the way.
Taylor and I were just crying in the office as soon as
He
Stu
said Bronny can coach. I was like, oh.
As soon as Stu posted it yesterday, Taylor and I are just like I'm like, Taylor, I got to turn this on speaker. And we're just like crying listening to it because I would like Jay Wright's hair to coach the New York Knicks as well. I do think that Seth Davis's comments about his CBS Sports counterpart saying that he is more likely to accept the Knicks head coaching job than the former head coach of Villanova. Pretty telling, but he's been wrong before. The Sharpie has gotten him at times, even Seth Davis. And ultimately, you know, that's the other storyline we didn't discuss in our first hour when it came to the firing of Tom Thibodeau, Taylor, and Lauren. And that is this notion of Karl Anthony Towns has now been a part of two teams that have fired the longtime head coach.
What has Jay Wright been doing? Because it's been
Working
a
at
few
CBS.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's working at CBS, NCAA tournament, hanging out, living in Stone Harbor, New Jersey, or Lavalette, actually. One of the towns that my family has has like a history of getting beach houses in. So yeah, he's just hanging out at the Jersey Shore.
I mean, obviously the Villanova connection would be fun to watch, but we'll see if he wants to coach again. Not everybody does. Taylor, I'm guessing you had Ellie De La Cruz hovering a day after his sister passed away.
I did. Obviously very emotional, and those are some of those moments when it's like more than baseball moments, you know, because it's the Cubs versus the Reds, so you want the Cubs to win, but in those moments you also want something good to happen. And I love him too. He's one of my favorite players in the league, honestly. And so it was emotional. He hits the home run as he's rounding the bases. He does his little heart and points up to the sky. And it's just, it's hard. I can't imagine playing a game, but I know for some of those guys it helps because it gets maybe their mind off of it a little bit, not just sitting at home and dwelling. And some people like to just continue on that way. But
they usually say like, this is what my mom, my dad,
would
my
want
sister, my
me
brother,
to do.
would want me to do.
Exactly. So it was a beautiful moment for him though, to be able to get that home run in that moment.
Who won the game?
The Cubs won that game. Yeah, I think it was like a 7-2 final.
There's the reality of the situation. I wanted Ellie De La Cruz to do well, but my team still won and leading the National League.
Yeah, they're just crushing. I was telling you on break that like watching Pete Crow Armstrong and Dan Hicken gets so mad at me every time I talk about Pete Crow Armstrong, but he's so good, and it's every single game. There's just something. I was telling you on break this last night. He hits what should have been a single, turns it into a double because he's so fast. Then he steals third base. Then I think it was Dansby. I'm trying to remember who was up to bat, but someone's up to bat. They hit kind of just this like little blooper. Probably should have been out, but Pete Crow acts like he's going to steal home. So the pitcher starts kind of panicking, and he doesn't really know what to do. So he goes after Pete Crow instead of getting the runner out. So then they're safe at first. Pete Crow's too fast, so he gets back to third, and everybody's like, in one at-bat, he created so much madness, and he's just so much fun to watch. And the Cubs team in general right now is. But, yeah, so it was. I could have put that play, but I figured I'd give some Ellie love.
I like it. So we have BTJ, who we constantly refer to on the show, SGA, who we refer to on the show, PCA, who we refer to. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing. The highlight you heard, and Mia, I know you were watching this, the college baseball the other night. It was epic. So the game is in Oxford. At one point, Murray State is up on Ole Miss 12-3. The night before, Ole Miss had crushed Murray State. So, of course, the Ole Miss fans are thinking, all right, we'll climb back into this one. And they did. And so you heard the highlight of the 3-run home run that Ole Miss hits. The crowd that's one of my favorite things to watch in Oxford. The crowd, like legit, the Ole Miss fans were insane, like pouring drinks on each other, even though they were still down by a run. Like, and the crowd or the producer knew to keep the cameras on the crowd too. I mean, literally losing their minds. And this moment, they think they're coming back. They think they're going to win this and head to the Super Regional. But that is not what happened. And so the other highlight you heard at the end of the game the pitcher Graham Kellman, he was the one who had come in and he had came in in the 7th and he gave up that 3-run home run, but he's able to bounce back, and it took him, this is what's crazy, and like I said, Mia, I know you were watching. So the first batter, and this is the bottom of the 9th, first batter, 8 pitches to get him out, to strike him out. Second batter, 11 pitches because he just kept fouling it off. And then finally, that one you just heard was the guy flew out to center, and Murray State wins, and they're just the 10th 4 seed ever to advance to a super regional.
Who says Cinderella is dead?
Not in college baseball. Cinderella, obviously people are so excited that the SEC has lost a lot of teams, and I can fully understand that after the way the men's basketball tournament has gone, after certainly softball and things like that. But the Cinderellas in baseball are alive and well, and it's fun to watch.
And I love this. The Racers baseball team, after winning the biggest game in program history, had an off day the next day, and they went to some Little League game to go support local kids in Kentucky.
And the highlight also said, sorry, Taylor, there's some ups in that dog pile, because if you watch the video.
It's like diving.
Yeah, we were watching live, and the coach got completely soaked. He was caught off guard. It was so much fun.
Did you see Cags get robbed, by the way?
Of course I did. I had made a note of that. He went 0 for 5 last night, but he made contact with several of those pitches.
I mean, he hit that liner. I don't know how Victor Scott got that ball, to be honest with you, but it was like one of those moments where I was like, he's about to get this right away, and then an incredible catch happened.
He didn't strike out. Like I said, he went 0 for 5, but he didn't strike out, and he had an 80% hard hit rate.
Yeah.
So, he showed he belongs in the bigs.
For sure.
Which we already knew that.
Robert on the YouTube chat line, Game 1 tonight, Stanley Cup Finals. That is correct, Robert, and that's what Taylor Dahl has some interesting thoughts on coming up here a little bit later in the 1 o'clock hour.
Yeah, we'll get to that next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
Who's the dumbass?
Whoa! Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
What's that, dumbass?
Say it again.
You want me to?
I dare you.
The Drill.
Dumbass.
Mornings on 1010XL.
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. Or how about all three? Good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter, your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning, all under one roof. Whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they have you covered. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google and take it from me. When my septic system acted up at my old house, the AC went out not once but twice 2 summers ago. Duck Duck Rooter was the first call I made. Make it the first call that you make, too. Give them a ring, 904-862-6769, or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
This is Mark Nato. My sons and I have seen the doctors and PAs at Southeast Ortho for everything from lumbar spine stress to elbow tendonitis. Southeast has always been there, been truthful, and always been on point. Everything they say happens. We can't thank them enough for what they've done and the great care that they have taken of our sons.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
You tired of high energy bills? Replace those inefficient windows and patio doors now. Don't miss Renewal by Anderson's 30th anniversary sale. Buy one window or patio door and get one 30% off. Financing options are available and this offer expires June 30th. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey folks, Frank Frangie here, reminding you the 4th annual Daly's Walk-Off Charities Golf Classic is right around the corner. We sure appreciate our friends at Daly's, always making it possible, and appreciate so many of you who have played over the years. This year, we're back at Deer Creek Country Club Monday, June 9th at 9 a.m. with tons of prizes, auction items, and an awful lot of fun. You'll even meet some of our young walk-off players. Just go to walkoffcharities.com for more information. Can't wait to see you on June 9th at the Daly's Walk-Off Charities Golf Classic.
Mark your calendars. Chicken Salad Chick opens June 10th in Ortega Park on Roosevelt Boulevard. Be one of the first 100 in line on grand opening day and receive free chicken salad for a year. More details on Chicken Salad Chick Ortega Park Facebook page. See you there.
She's very comfortable talking sports and hanging out with the boys.
Mia O'Brien here, still providing the best multimedia sports coverage in Northeast Florida on 1010XL radio, video, and social channels.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
This is Hayes Carlion for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. The online banking services are outstanding. So easy to use. Depositing checks through the mobile app is fast and efficient. I also go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-471-9773. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-471-9773. 800-471-9773. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-471-9773 or biglou.com. That's 800-471-9773 or biglou.com.
Pacifico, discovered by accident.
Yeah, the story goes, a group of friends went down to Mexico looking for some legendary waves. They never found them. But what they did find was something even better. An unforgettable Mexican lager.
Where'd you hear that?
Tell your next great story with a friend and a delicious Pacifico Mexican lager.
Pacifico, find your own way.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Before we get to some hockey talk, I'll give you today's Terminix Pest of the Day. They are such an integral part of keeping Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, all of your favorite event venues around town by keeping pests and termites away. And then they'll also spray at your house or your business to keep mosquitoes away as well. We were sitting outside last weekend and I just kept saying, I'm so thankful that Terminix came because otherwise I would have mosquito bites all over me, and I don't. You can find them online at Terminix.com. That's TERMINIX.com. The Bahamas Bowl will not be held in the Bahamas this year.
Again?
Yes, again.
I thought this was just a COVID thing. Come on.
No, the bowl will be played this season at a site to be determined. This is the second time in 3 years, so it has nothing to do with COVID as far as the last few years. In 2023, the Bahamas Bowl was played in Charlotte when the stadium in Bahamas was not available.
Right. But that was due to the hurricanes.
But let's take the name Bahamas Bowl off of it and let's call it something else. Traveling Bowl sounds fine. How about the Goldfish Bowl with our friends from the Old Bay seasoned goldfish? Like, I don't care what you name it, but you can't call it the Bahamas Bowl. And
it's never
yes,
in the
I
Bahamas.
understand. Right, there are some extenuating circumstances at times, but just call it something else.
I misspoke. It was the Maui Invitational that because of COVID got moved to North Carolina.
Right.
Which, fine. Okay, I get that one. But yeah, it's a running bit For sure. I feel bad for all the local media that, hey, we get to cover the Bahamas.
Exactly. Oh, wait, we're going to somewhere in the East Coast. So, yeah, they haven't even determined the site, but I just think they should change the name of the bowl. So there's the pest of the day. It's a silly one today. Can't always be serious. All right, Taylor, when it comes to the small market NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final, what you got?
Yeah, so I read this article. It was on The Athletic, and it was very interesting. So they took, if you follow The Athletic at all or have a subscription, they have separate things. So there's something called the Red Light, which is kind of all hockey based on there. And then there's something called Bounce, which is obviously all basketball based. So there's two guys, Sean McKindo, who is like one of the main authors on the hockey side of things, and Zach Harper, who's one of the main guys on the basketball side of things. And so they're known as more of the bigger minds in each of their respective sports that they cover. And so they did a sit-down interview with these guys to ask them different questions about the finals on each side. The first one made me laugh. This question just kind of made me giggle. So they said, what's the most interesting thing to you about the other sports title series? And Sean, who covers the NHL, was like, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So I think it's cool how you guys have copied the NHL's longstanding the best player in the finals as a Canadian gimmick, because obviously SGA is Canadian. So I laughed at that because it's hilarious. Zach went on and just said, they move around on knives. How does that not freak people out? I also find it fascinating that we haven't had a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup in over 30 years, and a team from Florida could block out the Oilers 2 years in a row. So both those ones were funny.
So pro-Canadian and then shots at Canada. So far, I get it.
Yeah. So then this next one, though, and we've had the conversation a little bit about the marketability of the NBA and the NHL and what it looks like with these four teams being the two, kind of representing the NHL and two representing the NBA. So they asked him, and he said, is there anxiety over the marketability of both series? What are you most wary about? So I'm going to start with the basketball one, because the NHL one kind of got me thinking a little bit. So Zach said, I think I'm most wary about this being a short series, which I think we all kind of had that conversation about. He said the basketball should be really good, but you can have a good basketball you can have good basketball in all of the games and it ends up being a sweep. Just ask last year's Pacers, who played the Celtics extremely well in the conference finals but ended up getting swept. This is a great basketball matchup, but the Thunder might make quick work of it. And I think I said similar, where I was like, it'll be interesting for non-diehard basketball fans if it goes to game 6 and 7. If it doesn't, I don't know how interested people will be that are not in the weeds of the NBA. But Sean, so his answer said, the concern these days in the NHL isn't that the smaller market teams are having success. The problem is whether those smaller market teams now have an advantage over the bigger ones due to financial factors, player preferences, among other things. There's a debate over whether this is actually a real problem at all. But as a league and a business, you don't want the markets that are driving your revenue to feel like they're falling behind. And that stuck out to me because I don't think we've thought about it in that sense. We've been like, do you love the Cinderella story, or do you want these, do you want the big names and the big players and all of that thing? But I don't know if we've talked about how if all of a sudden we're getting all of these smaller market teams winning year after year, if that's going to start affecting these bigger teams and they're getting pushed out and they're the ones giving all the money to the leagues.
Yeah. Our friend Dimitri Ravanos with Barrett Sports Media penned a very interesting article, big picture, independent of sports, about this earlier this week. This idea of, as social media is growing, as video streaming grows, it's not so much about I need as many viewers as possible as it is I want a rabid diehard level of engagement. And specifically, he cited NASCAR. And this idea of over the last 2 weekends, actually, NASCAR's races have aired on Amazon Prime. And the traditional NASCAR audience may not have a Amazon Prime membership. And so in doing so, you are curtailing to, A, your diehards who are now willing to pay for that subscription. And so therefore you are getting the benefit of they're going to pay.
Yeah.
And number two, a younger audience, because you feel that they are more online and they are more likely to promote your brand via their personal social media accounts. And so that's what I think is so interesting, is perhaps even bigger than just sports, this shift of it's not just about, well, we had 10,000 views. We see it, I mean, Taylor, in the multimedia department here every day, this idea of it's great that a video got 100,000 views on YouTube, but if people only watched it for 6 seconds of the 6-minute video, then YouTube is not going to reward it in the algorithm. And so I think that it's very interesting from a marketing perspective that sports teams and leagues are looking at it in the same way.
I think you need drama and rivalries.
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting for the NHL is this is the second year these two teams have been in it. And so once the casual fan tunes in, if you can suck them in with this guy hates this guy or this coach hates this coach, sports hate naturally, then, and there's a backstory that people can get behind, then I think they can love it and start paying attention to it more so than just what's the score, in the second period, things like that. But to me, I do wonder, now that you talk about it, small market team, if you're not a diehard NHL fan and if you're not from Florida, do you know which city the Florida Panthers play in?
Probably not.
Because it's just called
Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe because they've been to the last 2-3 Stanley Cups.
But if that's what I'm saying,
if they know the city.
If you're not an NHL fan, so you're not watching the Stanley Cup and even beyond that, you're not watching the regular season.
Right.
And if you're not from Florida, do you know where the Panthers play?
Definitely don't know what Sunrise is. I'll tell you that.
That's what I was about to say.
Well, in Miami, you can just classify it
South Florida.
As Miami.
Yeah, South Florida outside of Miami. But I find that interesting because they chose to go with the name Florida Panthers versus we used to have the Florida Marlins and then they became the Miami Marlins because I think they wanted more of the identity.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that are outside of Florida that have never been to Florida don't know where a lot of the cities are in Florida. Because it's just funny how much they think they have this mindset that everything's Miami, like
Orlando because of Disney,
and
they get
everything has palm trees and is beachy, and it's like a lot of Florida is not that. And I always have to explain that because I know a lot of people up in the Midwest who've never been to Florida and they have no idea that Florida is not just like a tropical vacation for everybody every day.
Well, some people here would say stay in the Midwest.
Yeah, stay
We've
up
had
there.
enough people move here.
But yeah, and I think that I truly don't think they would be able to name the exact city. They may be like it's south, like somewhere in South Florida, maybe.
We need a man on the street in Texas to answer these questions.
Yeah, and I do think it's all interesting because with this one, for example, if you're talking about the NHL, you do have the Oilers, who we just said, Canada hasn't won one in over 30 years, and it's Canada's sport. And then you have Florida, who can repeat. And so I do think that there's an extra level of maybe reasons to pay attention. But if you're not a diehard fan and you're not talking about the Bruins and the Blackhawks, and sometimes it just loses that. But to your point a second ago, Mia, when you're talking about leagues, or I guess leagues, kind of realizing now that it goes beyond just the TV, I think that's an important thing because they are realizing that the way that people watch things now are so much different. And this young generation, and we talk about how quickly they get over. They're not going to sit there and most times watch a full 4-hour game. They'll go back and they'll watch the highlights, or they'll watch it on TikTok, the fast version of it, or all just like the little clips of it. And I do think that maybe they've started to expand on the fact that maybe we're not going to get the viewership for full games like we used to, but what we're getting is people talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese on Twitter every single day and posting TikToks about it, or posting about whatever. If a big fight happens in the Panthers game in the first 40 seconds, that's going to go viral. And how do we capitalize off of those things?
And in turn, we love to talk about TV revenue dollars. We love to talk about viewership numbers. But what we're not talking about when it comes to the dollars and cents is sponsorship and commercials. And to your point, Taylor, the NBA was probably the first in this revolution during the Golden State Warriors run in the mid-2010s to understand, okay, because we know that the next generation is not going to watch necessarily a regular season game from start to finish, we need to lean all the way in to social and clips of these games, and we can offer that up to sponsors. We can offer that up to, hey, well, this take of the week is sponsored by insert name here, as opposed to actual commercials on a terrestrial television broadcast.
And can't you go to the sponsors that are on the jerseys and say you have to pay us more because every time those players are in a clip, then we have
impressions.
Yeah, we have gotten way more engagement that way. Fascinating conversation. On the other side, we will get it to a little ACC football news. You are listening to 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Take Jacksonville with you.
There's no place like home.
Listen to 1010XL away from home.
Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home. Home.
Download the 1010XL and XL 92.5 FM apps for free on Apple and Android devices.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
This is Hayes Carline, and I'm so proud of my guy, Leon Searcy.
Man, I used to want to eat all the time, but just 1 month on Physician Guided Weight Loss, and I've already dropped 15 pounds.
And I lost 25. No side effects, just results.
The GLP, one curbs my cravings and keeps me feeling full. It's been easier than I expected, and I feel amazing.
Their staff is great, and best of all, no surprise costs.
If you're ready to bring sexy back this summer, visit pgweightloss.com.
Physician Guided Weight Loss, safe, doctor supervised.
And it works.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. Pool decks, driveways, garages, patios, we coat them all to make your neighbors jealous.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Helmets and heels. Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
Hey, Hickett here for my friends at Zero Res. Gang, vacuuming is not sufficient to maintain the cleanliness and lifespan of your carpet, period. Do not, let me repeat, do not leave deep cleaning to yourself, but do it yourself, dirt attracting carpet soaking machines. No. Call on the cleaning freaks from Zero Res. Big summer savings. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $129. Take 20% off air duct cleaning as well. Call them, 904-287-5727, and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
He's not Pistol Pete, he's Pete Prisco.
Been on the wanted list almost 20 years.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Franchi Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Summer in Jacksonville is coming in hot. Lauren Brooks here. Beat the heat with Turbo Tint. Their window tint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays and keeps your ride cool and comfortable. Book today at orangepark.turbotint.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy-efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World,
simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Jacksonville, you know a good defense wins games, and a good fence protects your home. Frank Frangie here. Coil Fencing has been around the block since 1927. Literally, they probably fenced it too. From tough chain link to sleek aluminum fences your HOA will love, Coil is the name to trust. Nearly a century strong and still standing tall. Call Coil today. You can trust them. Call 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Your yard's starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home at the newly renovated 5-Star Ballpark this week. Tomorrow is Wear at Home Wednesday t-shirt giveaway presented by Renewal by Anderson and Better Health. Tomorrow, River City Pride and Vi-Star present Pride Night on Coors Light Thirsty Thursday. Then it's Red Shirt Friday with fireworks, followed by our salute to the Negro Leagues weekend. More fireworks and giveaways on Saturday and Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day. Baseball all weekend. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable family fun.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Interesting notes from our friends at Pro Football Focus this morning. Our friend John Shipley of SI also retweeted this as how it came into my purview. Screen rates and total EPA in 2024. So the quarterback is listed, not the team per se. Who do you think had the highest QB screen rate and total EPA in the National Football League in 2024, Taylor and Lauren?
I'll just guess Baker Mayfield.
Close. He's
the Jaguars related.
He's in that upper right-hand quadrant, so you are correct. He's in the top 5. Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay.
Mike McDaniel, the short passing offense.
Sure.
Jordan Love, Bo Nix, Jared Goff. That is your top 5. I was going to say
Goff, too. I saw a chart yesterday, too, that broke down yards after catch compared to just straight, like, a quarterback's air yards compared to the yards they get after obviously the receivers are getting them, tight ends, whatever it may be. And Jared Goff's astronomically high when it comes to the benefits that he gets out of the yak yards.
Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best at that.
Now, I say all this. I don't know if anyone who subscribes to PFF got the newsletter email yesterday in which there was an argument made that screen rate is going down in the National Football League since its heyday of about 2019 or so when everyone was copycat leaguing Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay and company. But it is interesting that while it hit a low in 2022, it has started to rise again. And so how the screen game is being implemented, I think, varies from team to team. Certainly a lot of 21 personnel run not only by Liam Cohen and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. We see it with Alec Ingold in the backfield, the fullback for the Miami Dolphins. And so I think while all 5 of those teams use it a lot, and the expectation is perhaps it could have a presence here in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen now as the head coach and play caller, I do think that how all 5 use the screen game is vastly different between Green Bay, Tampa, Miami, the Lions. And that brings us to the big central point of your offense may have worked in one locale. You can't plug and play the same offensive scheme without the same exact personnel set somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to look too at how much that screen game, because obviously the screen game a lot of times you're moving quicker and you're not having to eye down receivers down the field as much. And we talk about 2 of those guys, Bo Nix, who we mentioned yesterday, and we hyped up his offensive line. Not saying his offensive line's not good, but I wonder how much that scheme really helped his offensive line because they were getting the ball out so quick and being able to do some of those things where he's not having to hold the ball so long, so the offensive line's not having to hold so long. And that's some of the things you have to look at too. That's definitely Green Bay. They do that a ton for Jordan Love. And because if you look at Jordan Love's numbers when he's getting pressured compared to not pressured, he has one of the worst QBRs in the league when he's getting pressured, and then one of the best when he's not. And so I do think that is something that they obviously build their scheme surrounding, knowing that's his biggest weakness. And so let's get this ball out quick, which makes sense in that area.
As a quarterback, you want to have at least one aspect of the offense that you feel is your absolute best. Like you are an expert at that. No matter what the situation, that's going to be your best play. And for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, I think you can't rely on the deep ball being your go-to best play. Like that can be a phenomenal play that you use in your playbook, but you can't guarantee that that's your receiver downfield is always going to have separation. The line's always going to block long enough for you and things like that. I feel like there has to be another part of your game that is your go-to, and whether that's a jet sweep that you feel like is always going to be something you're good at, whether that's a short yardage run game, whether that's the quarterback running the football, which we've seen across the league, that's something that in dire straits, a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, like they're getting those 3 yards or those 5 yards, whatever it may be, whether it's looking across the middle of the field to the tight end. Like you have to have another part of your game, the quick game for sure, that is you're really good at. And I would love for the Jags to have that awesome deep threat as something that goes to Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown, all three of them. But you can't always rely on that.
Correct. You need to have something to complement it, whether that be the run game, the short passing game, which is an extension of it. There's got to be something. And not to mention this idea of, hey, look, I found these like 2 awesome plays from Truman State's victory that I watched on ESPN The Ocho this weekend. I'm going to throw that in the playbook this week, even though your team does not have the same personnel, nor are they facing the same level of competition that Truman State faced this past weekend.
Every time I hear something like that, I think of Little Giants and the annexation of Puerto Rico and that trick play that they ran. When it comes to the ACC, FSU, Clemson, and the ACC have formally ended their dueling lawsuits. The schools agreed on the new revenue distribution model in March. 40% of TV money will be evenly distributed to 14 longstanding members, 60% distributed on a ratings-based formula. So kumbaya, all is well.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go, Florida State fans. There's some positive news, maybe, possibly.
I mean, you never want to be in a lawsuit with your conference and your conference in a lawsuit with you.
Well, they also were in the lawsuit because they were out here thinking they were going to be able to get out of the grant rights. And
they thought that these other conferences, like an SEC, like a Big Ten,
was going to want them.
Were going to be groveling and handing out cash to them, and that certainly wasn't the case. And so I think for now we at least have a clear division. The SEC is not expanding anymore. The Big Ten's not expanding anymore. The ACC is going to stay the way it is. The Big 12 as well. And then you've got the group of 6, I guess we call it now, and then somewhere down the road, maybe more expansion will happen, but they just have to figure out the college football playoff, and then we can go on back to just talking about what's going to happen on the field, and that'll make my college football
There'll be
heart so
something
happy.
else by then. This actually made me think of this real quick as we're on this topic, and I have to go back and try and find exactly what it was on. I want to say Florio maybe was the one talking about this, but he was saying about and without actually saying this is what it's going to turn into, he was kind of, because I don't think he's allowed to say that, but he went on this rant this last week about how he feels like, how was he wording it? So how pretty much he feels like the college football is going to eventually get to where players are going to have so much power that they're going to say, I should be able to choose where I go in the NFL. And in turn, the guys in the NFL are also going to be able to say, I get to choose where I want to be
year to year.
Oh, so I guess that's the dissolution of the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. For the college football, that's a whole other conversation because of now they don't want to be employees, or at least they may want to be employees, but the schools don't want them to be employees because that's a whole other can of worms. So I don't know that they'll have so much power unless there is a CBA of sorts for college football, and then they can put that into the CBA.
And that's what. So he said that essentially one day a player is going to sue the league, saying that he should have the right to choose where he works because you're an employee now. And so it was just fascinating.
I understand the philosophy. Yeah. Like you can't choose where I go to work.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, they can choose which team you go to. Although we have seen a few cases where a player basically flat out said, and we wondered if this would happen with Shedeur Sanders. It certainly did not. But we have talked about players that have already openly said in their families, like, I'm not playing for that team. If they draft me, like, I'll just go back to college or I'll take a year off. And so, the free agency part, how we get the undrafted free agents and then they get to choose what school what NFL teams they go to. Could that ever happen and we lose the draft entirely? The one caveat, though, is the draft makes so much money that the NFL will find a way to keep that in.
And that's why I don't think it would ever actually be approved in general, because the owners have an involvement and a stake in the profitability of the draft, and they have a profitability in the current structure as it stands, because then they don't have to hire more people that are involved with the recruitment and the procurement of talent from other teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was just interesting because I was like in my head, I'm like, technically, and not saying it would ever happen. He was more so saying I could see a world where someone sues to try and make changes for that. Like you get traded they make these trades in season, right before the trade deadline, and someone gets sent off to a team they don't want to be at. And they're like, hold up, I did not approve this. Like I should be able to pick where I want to play.
Which is why you should have a no trade clause in in your contract, but only certain players have the leverage to be able to do things like that. Let's circle back to DeJuan Smoot, re-signed by the Jaguars yesterday after spending a year with the Bills. He had 6 sacks in 2019, 5.5 in 2020, 6 in 2021, 5 in 2022 before tearing his Achilles. But like we started the show with, his impact goes way beyond the sacks as far as his locker room presence, as far as the experience that he has in this league as well. Excited to see DeJuan Smoot back in a Jaguars uniform. The question, of course, what number will he wear? Because 91's taken, 94's taken. So we'll have to figure that part out. 91, of course, Eric Armstead, 94, Mason Smith. Let's say hello to Leon Searcy.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Leon, your reaction to seeing DeJuan Smoot will be back in a Jaguars uniform?
You know, I was very fond of Smoot. I really was. You know, he was a energy guy, third down rush guy. I heard he was a good locker room presence and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I was on this morning. I saw Jaguars' website, and I saw him, Duval, he said out there. So I was always a big fan of Smoot.
Well, I just love, Leon, that we went from not having a third edge to now there's actual depth in that room,
like
potentially.
Edge City here now.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So the way that we started the show, and I'm curious your take, I looked at this signing as, number one, it's a vote of confidence, or it should be from the fan base, from us in the media, to say, okay, they've identified a need for more depth, and they're addressing it now instead of in the middle of the season. So that's number one. But on the flip side of that, by signing a veteran who was still on the street and available on June 3rd, does that suggest that maybe those young, undrafted free agent cats that you brought in along the defensive line, maybe they're not ready yet?
Yeah, maybe they need some tutelage. Mentorship is always important. I mean, that's kind of, I could have done the same thing. I could have stole at least 3 years, you know, when I got up in age or whatever, because teams wanted me to come back, but not to play, but to kind of mentor the younger guys that came after me. So, yeah, I think Smoot is a consummate professional. He's a try-hard guy. He's a get-after guy. He's an energy guy. And I know that's going to rub off not only on the field, but also in the locker room.
Leon, how was vacation? I heard you had a little bit of a shaky experience getting to the resort.
Yeah.
But once you were there, it was all good?
Yeah, I mean, I had a near-death experience in a cab going to Sandals. It was terrifying because you got to go up the guy, first of all, pointed at me and said, "Where's Sandals?" He said, "Oh, mountain, across that mountain." I said, "Across the mountain." Okay, so we got to go up the mountain to get there. And it was just terrifying. First of all, I didn't remember that they drive on the left-hand side. And then you're going up on the left, and you got cars coming down, and there's no railing. And
you're just looking over.
I see a cliff, and I see trees, and I see a cliff, and I see water. And listen, you go over, this is it. This is a wrap.
Joe told everyone that you had a lime while you were in Jamaica.
Had who?
He said a lime.
What's a lime?
Like a lime in the
I think he thought
drink.
you were drinking tequila down there for some reason. I'm not sure.
Like a lime.
I had a few Bar Marleys. I'm not going to lie. I had Bar Marley at 10 a.m. in the morning. In the poolside.
But JJ misheard and thought he said a line.
Line?
So that had to be clarified.
Yes,
it was clarified. Don't worry.
At least your poolside drinks may be a bit more manly than someone else who's in the middle of the sea right now.
Yeah, you know.
But how would you rate Hacker's drinks on his cruise?
Concerning. I really do, because every one of them has an umbrella.
Hey, all I can say.
He has this commercial that says, "I'm a man's man."
All I can say is sometimes when it's hot out, you get a frozen drink with the rum runner on top, or the rum floater, on top, in a rum runner. That's delicious.
It is. Yeah, the rum punch was outstanding over there. The food was amazing.
Good. Yeah, you're on an island. It should be. What's coming up?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? There's a ranking of the Jaguars roster that we're going to go over. We're going to talk a little ranking of the transfer portal and Jaguars, of course.
All right. Sounds good, Leon.
You got it.
Thanks so much. That'll do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. Thanks again to Jamie Erdall from Good Morning Football for joining us earlier. Easy as I'm for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime comes up next.